show we'll bring in, and then we're not gonna talk about our weeks. We'll do all of the stuff with you, and then afterwards we'll record our stuff.
Works for me. However you want to run it.
All right, that works.
I'll go off your guys' cues.
All right.
I'm just setting up my screen here.
Yeah,
I gotta ask, where did you get that backdrop?
Oh, this is custom made for. This is actually, we had it made prior to even announcing. I think this is back September.
That's fun.
Early September. Yeah, we had like a big creator thing even before I started the company. They had made that and brought it out, and it was in a box for the longest time until I figured it would be a good backdrop for random stuff like this. By the way, are my volume levels good? I saw that my mic was like turned all the way down, like hard encoded. How does this sound? Recording wise?
Sounds great. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally fine. You're when you're talking, it's we can hear it.
Cool.
Nice and clear.
That's what matters.
Brown cow.
I would even say it's almost loud, but I can change that and it won't affect the recording.
Okay. I can. Yeah, it is. It's maxed out right now, so I can tone it down a little bit if that helps.
Yeah, sure. It's always better to be a little too quiet, at least on the recording part.
Well, but the stream part.
Right. That's the.
That's right. It is the constant battle.
Yeah, I'm not going to pay attention to your chats at all, pretty much, Marcus.
Do you have a link to the live stream itself? I can throw it in the Wayfinder chat if people want to.
So,
would you prefer Kick?
Kick? Yeah, I would do Kick. Or Twitch, doesn't matter. Or YouTube.
I'm assuming Atrax is on it. I can hear him typing something.
And what's the official name of the podcast?
Working Class Nerds.
Working Class Nerds.
Nice. Nice.
Yep. Sorry, I just am doing one more thing. This thing's working dumb, as usual.
Snarf, I think if you have control over it right in your hand, you could even turn your mic down a little more if you wanted to.
Yeah.
How's
that?
Actually, he's perfect for me, Nick.
Okay, whichever.
Right. No, man, I lied. Turn you back.
All right. We're good.
Where's that link? And I'll throw it in here.
Yeah. Hold.
I can pull it real quick.
That. I sent you. You can just pick whichever one you prefer. Which I don't know which.
I'll probably Kick.
There it is.
Which
right?
media the community prefers, but
Atrax, yeah.
there it is.
So that's not the YouTube, I'm assuming. Or is it the YouTube?
Yeah. Here, sorry, I'll remove the embeds.
So all three of those work?
Yep.
Whatever floats their boat.
I'll let them choose. Okay. And I'll press enter once you go live.
Oh, we're live.
Yep.
Oh, we are? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome to the pre-show.
This is, I feel like this has been a long time coming. I'm so excited.
Me too.
I am over the moon.
I feel bad. I feel like this is, should have happened a while ago.
Dude, you guys went through a lot.
No, it's been smooth sailing. What are you talking about?
That's you guys.
I love the optimism.
Yeah.
Being a part of it, I love the fact that he's just like, it was easy.
So, Snarf Rayu, I don't know where he is in your screen. He's the guy that fell in love with Wayfinder from the start, and he's just been an animal since. So it was only right. We call him the overseer of our community. So it was only right to have him come oversee this podcast.
Sweet.
And can we just talk about again how awesome this gold shadow is? Like how pretty that is.
Yeah, dude, that's sick.
What does that have to do with Ryu being
I don't know. I saw
the
it.
overseer?
Well, I mean,
I
you
saw a
can't
squirrel.
carry Wayfinder with a controller, right? So.
Well, I just figured that out. literally just figured out that I can play it with a controller, and it changed my life.
Got some nice quality of life stuff, I think, in this update for the controllers, I believe.
Listen, the quality of life happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hello,
Holy Force. Hello, Gobble. All right, but goodbye, chat. All right, you ready to rock?
Yep. Mute the tabs. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I am ready whenever.
All right. I can go in 5. Well, I know I do this all the time. Do you guys want to just mention one thing for our bullet points? Or do you want to
What
do
are
it
we
at the
talking
end?
about? Oh, for our week?
Yeah.
No, do it at the end.
All right, sounds good. Here we go.
Keep it straightforward. I mean, it's gonna sound like we're coming back from break.
Yeah.
essentially.
Should we lump in Game of the Month with AIE? Just real quick, like in Game of the Month news.
Sure.
This in AIE news. This.
Or we
Oh,
can just
can
do it
that-
after.
do
after.
all that after.
Yeah. All right.
I'll cut
Oh,
it so
okay.
it'll be before in the
that
real
works.
show.
Yeah,
but-
yeah, I got you.
and to be respectful of Mr. Snarf.
I can't wait. There's so much to
There's
say.
no reason to be respectful for me, to be perfectly honest.
Dude, we're honored that you're here.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Because
Honored's fine, but no need to be respectful.
Okay. fair enough.
tonight, I dedicate this podcast to Venomous because no matter how hard I try,
Hey.
I still never get her.
I mean, that's half good. I mean, you got the
just pay
NIST
for
part.
it.
That's all you really need to be dedicating anything to.
Yeah, half of it. I didn't get the Venom part though. All right, here we go. Hey, I'm Marcus.
I'm Atrax.
And I'm Nick.
We are working class nerds.
Cue the intro. That's right, we are Working Class Nerds, the podcast that gives you no information about your favorite information.
Today is Thursday, February 8th, 2024, and you can find this 234 podcast on Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere you can find a podcast in the galaxy far, far away.
You can also find every single Working Class Nerds episode on YouTube. Just search for the Working Class Nerds podcast or go to youtube.com/@workingclassnerds. Click on playlist, click on Working Class Nerds, and boom! You might even catch us live because Marcus has figured out how to hit us up with all 3 streams every single time.
It's a lot of work. And you can find us all of us on social media. I am at MarcusB814.
I'm at Atrax_A.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, what did you? Yeah, you missed the whole
Even
section.
Snarf, look at that. Even Snarf was like, no,
Dude,
man.
I was just, well, it's because you threw me off and it completely, you threw in the multi-stream thing and yeah.
They're even highlighted like a different color.
Yeah, but no, it was just because he mentioned the multi-stream. All right, we can do it nice because we
I'm
do
going
it
to do
twice.
it again just so you don't get,
No,
just wanted to let
it's
you
just,
know.
no, I just got excited. It's fine. It's fine. All right, here we go. Hey, I'm Marcus.
I'm Atrax.
And I'm Nick.
We are working class nerds.
Cue the intro. That's right, we are Working Class Nerds, the podcast that gives you no information about your favorite information.
Today is Thursday, February 8th, 2024, and you can find this 234 podcast on any podcast format in the galaxy far, far away.
You can also find every single Working Class Nerds episode on YouTube. Just search for the Working Class Nerds podcast or go to youtube.com/@workingclassnerds. Click on playlist, click on Working Class Nerds, and boom! You might even catch us live every single Thursday because Marcus has figured out the multi-streaming thing.
And you can watch me play video games Tuesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays at kick.com/MarcusB814 and twitch.tv/MarcusB814.
You can watch me play video games every Friday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/A_Atrax.
And you can check out Dorito's new creative writing project, all about me stopping streaming, called the Search for Deafening Silence. Search for the Deafening Silence in our Discord. The link for which you can find in the show notes.
You can also find us all on social media. I am at MarcusB814.
I'm at Atrax_A.
And I'm at Nick Verne. That's NACKVR. And in this week's episode, we have a very special guest. We may have found the only person who knows more about Wayfinder than Rayu, or at least of the people that we've met, kind of. Snarf is the community manager for Airship Syndicate's Wayfinder, also known as the Nerds Community Game of the Month for September 2023. So welcome to the show, Snarf. And what have you been up to this week?
Well, hello there. Thank you very much for having me, guys. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm glad you caught me at a little bit of a downtime. God, what have I been doing? I have been dying in World of Warcraft hardcore. I have had 30+ characters die in the last 2 weeks, and it feels really bad. But we have Season Discovery 2 out as of today, so I've been getting my grind on in there. I got a 27, what was it called? 27 mage, and I have like 3 other 25s ready to go as well. So that's what I've got going on in my life.
How long does it take to get to level 30 in hardcore?
Too long. Yeah, the first one felt really bad. I'm trying to do on a warrior, so that's even more painful because it's so painful to get past those like first 20 levels, I want to say. But yeah, when you get into the 30s, you feel like you finally broke through, and then freaking Murlocs happen, and it's real sad. So that's the story of my life. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that happened last night. It was very unfortunate. I ulted forward right quick.
Yeah, level 30 is
Wow.
like days of playing, just gone.
Yeah, I think the first time it was like 5 days of like total in-game time, so like 24 times 5 like actual in-game time, and then the
120
second one was
something
way faster. It was just like, I think I was actually closer to like 2 days of gameplay. But you know, it's hardcore.
Just
It's
gone. Yep.
it's what it's there for. Makes it count, which I actually really like. I like the intentional. You know, every pull you got to have your wits about you, or otherwise Murlocs happen.
Wow.
Yeah, you need to know like everything about the game in order to make it in hardcore for sure.
It's fun though. It's cool. But we
would
got
agree.
another patch coming out for Wayfinder as well. So I think we're actually gonna have probably some exciting news is tomorrow. I think we've been approved by Sony, so that's actually gonna come out first thing tomorrow morning. So that's gonna be coming out.
Or
What
if
do
we
you
make it a really, really long episode, it'll come out on
Yeah,
September
Very
7th.
possible. I'm gonna need a couple more of these Red Bulls, but we can make it happen.
Well, technically, it's
Well, there is a
tomorrow
link,
if we're talking
so-
about like, you know, in Europe, it's already
It's-
tomorrow.
It's Friday
In-
night somewhere.
In Japan,
Yeah.
at Sony in Japan, it's
Australia.
already tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wow. So is the update only for Sony games? The Sony version?
So this one, there's even more technical reasons why we wanted to keep it in step, but we're going to be releasing all of the patches. So the certification process, for people who don't know, especially for live service, it's a pain in the butt. So the more platforms and more consoles and more parties that you have to be working with, you have to be submitting the patch to them. It has to go through their certification and their kind of QA, and then you basically are waiting on their team. And we have not a lot of insight as far as you kind of just send it and then you wait, and it's either approved or it's not. So Sony, we've been waiting on approval on that, and we've got the thumbs up, so we're good to go tomorrow morning. But the Steam patch is always a lot faster. They technically have a verification process too, I think, but it's much easier to just like you send it and you basically get a response back and you're good to go.
So what we're saying here is the PC still is the master race.
I'm not going to
Look at Ray.
ostracize any of my fantastic community out there, regardless of what platform they want to be playing on. But yeah, I basically exclusively play on PC.
Very nice.
Yeah, same here.
So
Except for Elden Ring. I played Elden Ring exclusively on PS5. and
oh
that was a
my
lot of
god.
fun.
I'm playing that right now for the first time ever. I've never played a game like that before, and it's pretty bad.
It's fun to watch though.
What?
No, it's good.
no,
like
I'm-
Marcus's
Oh,
learning
okay,
curve is bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's having a lot of fun.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm loving the game. Absolutely loving it, but I'm terrible at it.
Good. You're playing it right.
That's not how it's supposed to be, though.
It's a Souls game. It kind of is.
Yeah,
It's
you
gonna
die
beat
a
your head
lot.
against a brick wall until the brick wall finally. It's like, all right, this guy's crazy.
Well, it happens. You know, when you get smushed by something and you're like, I don't even get it. But I feel like last year at PAX East, when we were there, I picked up a controller and I played it, and Atrax was recording me and he saved it, and it's still funny to this day because I just died. I was like, it's not fair. It's just not fair. And I still, to this day, 40 hours into the game or 50 hours into the game, I still feel that way. It's just not
Yep.
fair.
And it doesn't stop. Just wait till you get to millennia, and it's that is a
Yeah.
fun boss.
Yep. It gets worse and worse and worse.
Oh,
Less
yeah.
fair, but more fun.
So tell everybody what you do with Airship.
Oh, with Airship. Okay. That's exciting. So I am the community manager. So that is a very simple title for a pretty broad breadth of things that I do. But my main function is to be the liaison between the public and the development team. So a lot of what I do is, one, just kind of be the mouthpiece. So if people have questions, I want to be there to kind of answer them and give them the kind of source of truth. Do a lot of the public facing stuff. So obviously talking with fantastic people such as yourselves, doing the podcasts, doing all the marketing, got to voice act the trailer and all that stuff. Went to Tokyo Game Show. If launch wasn't as crazy as it was, I was going to go to Gamescom and just trying to be out there in the world, spreading the good word about Wayfinder. And then on the more technical side, it's about, compiling all the feedback. So if I'm getting a lot of feedback about balance or bugs or game breaking issues or, people's thoughts on MTX or ways that we can address the XP grind or loot drop tables or messages not being as prevalent as they want to be, all that sort of thing. I compile that and send it to the dev team and then kind of keep tracks with the dev team like that and kind of give feedback on future content and more just like a temperature gauge for, if we have new features coming out. A lot of people will come to me and be like, hey, what do you think people will think about this? And I'm like, maybe this, maybe that, and we'll find out. But that is my Joel. That is my job here, and it's awesome.
What would you say your best platform for communicating with the community is?
I'd say Discord 100%. So definitely, it's a double-edged sword, being as transparent and just like in the thick of it as much as we are, just because we get the freedom of, which is really unique in a lot of businesses, but especially in the gaming industry where it's just a little bit more dangerous to be as open and just like open line of communication. I think it's the positives outweigh the negatives, but we're pretty straight shooters. I can definitely be a little bit of a sarcastic asshole, and I get slapped back for that a little bit. But it all comes from a good place, and we're here to try to just make people have fun, because ultimately we're in the business of making games, and games should be fun and real, and just kind of peel back all the BS a little bit. So that's Discord is where we live and meme and make fun of each other all the time if you want to join the fun.
I'm in there. It is definitely fun. I'll peel back the curtain. About 3 hours ago, there was a heated working class nerds text chat back and forth, and it was hilarious. And we all three of us, Nick, myself, and Atrax, are all snarky, sarcastic dudes, and it's actually pretty funny because we're talking mad amounts of shit to each other, but at the end of the day, it's all out of love and it's comedy, and we come here and do this. It's just I understand what you're saying. Before everybody can get into it, can you tell us about what Wayfinder is?
Yeah, so Wayfinder is it's our own unique IP, and it's kind of like our love letter to MMOs in a sense. So it's early access right now. We launched early access back in August last year, but it is a third-person action RPG. So it's going to be character-based and very collection kind of driven. So similar to akin to Monster Hunter, or definitely has some Warframe elements and kind of grind aspects to the game as well. But it's a big fantasy RPG that you go into a world that's kind of being thrust into an unknown enemy force has kind of taken over and corrupted the planet, called the Gloom. And your job as a Wayfinder is actually somebody who's died and has come back from the dead, is to figure out what to do to push this Gloom back and kind of recapture civilization, and become more powerful in the process by capturing memories and pieces that the Gloom has destroyed. So you're basically going out there, saving the world, and pushing back this entity called the Gloom, and exploring what has been lost over the last couple of years.
Awesome.
there it is.
That sounds great. I mean,
Cool. I bet you guys have never even heard of it before.
nope, not just hearing about it now. No, I'm
Not
sure
in that quite description. but
Yeah.
that's true. That's true.
Me, I just go.
was awesome.
I just go and kill things, try not to die, and don't stand in the giant puddles because the game is completely ranged friendly. Melee,
Yeah.
not so much.
I just go in and drop venomous clouds.
Dude, why do you got to bring her name up? Like, no matter what I
'Cause it's
do.
fun.
Yeah, I can't even get her. It's fine. It's fine. Who wants to go first?
Well, now is when I'm gonna put the break, and it'll cut. You know what I'm saying?
No?
Yeah.
No.
So well, right now we're in the hey, what have you been up to this week section
All right.
of
go
the
ahead.
show. So now we're gonna
Oh, I see.
fast
we-
forward to I'm gonna bring us back from break right now, and then I'll chop it back up, and it'll seem like we just talked about our week.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Well, so that we
Magic
can.
of editing.
Yeah, that's a lot of editing.
It's
Yeah.
not that. It's like one copy and paste.
Okay.
He's in an imperial prison. He's got
That's a
nothing
lot.
better to do.
Yeah.
Ray, you're a little low.
Yeah, I'm a little far away from a mic. I apologize.
There it is. All right. So I'll go back from break in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. So today we have some burning hot Wayfinder questions that only a true community manager has the power to answer. Thankfully, we have Snarf here with us. So first question we got, Marcus.
Can you share some unseen challenges of being a community manager?
Oh God. Unseen. So I think it's just the nature of the beast with dealing with the public, and you never know exactly. Things aren't going to go according to plan in game dev, especially, and especially just the last few months of what we had our golden plan of everything that was going to, fall right into place, and everything was going to go exactly as the way you wanted to. Unfortunately, life gets in the way of that, and you just got to learn to adapt and just have the guiding principle of just trying to do the right thing by, the team and the public, and just kind of go from there. But obviously, that's going to ruffle some feathers when people, expect to have exactly what was, laid out to them, and they have the plan. And if it doesn't go exactly according to plan, if a patch is delayed, if you don't have the content out the day that you said you're going to have it out, or the month you're going to have it out, and you have to just kind of say what you got to say to just kind of keep people informed and let them know what's going on and be honest and just be transparent. It's hard. It's tough. It sucks, and people are going to assume the worst in you. The internet's unfortunately a pessimistic place in a lot of the times. So you just got to be true to yourself and just got to be as honest as you can. But unfortunately, that is going to frustrate some people out there, and trying to dealing with that is difficult. But we try. All you can do is get up every day and try to combat it.
Keep on keeping on.
We've been a part of the Star Wars The Old Republic content creator program for a while, and Jackie, their community manager, actually gives almost the exact same answer as you do about the day-to-day. And it's funny to hear two community managers' opinions, and they're actually the same. You guys are driving down the same highway, just different games.
It's the nature of the beast. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's good. I mean, I hope it's good. I don't know. It seems like it's a good philosophy to hold yourself to. But it does get tricky at times, and it does get stressful, but you just got to not take it personally. You got to remove yourself, and you got to understand where people's frustrations are coming from. And if they're venting those frustrations, ultimately that's a good sign. Like, apathy is the true game killer. If it's silent and nobody's frustrated, that's when the hair on my neck starts raising. But if people are voicing their opinions, and they're passionate about it, and they're frustrated, or they're excited and they're gung-ho, obviously we prefer to have the well wishes and, keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing great. Those help the team immensely. It's not the majority of the time, but, at least that's still a voice, and it's still activity, and it's people, wanting
Yeah.
the game to get there. So that's what we kind of go by.
Yeah, and you have to also counteract the bad with the good, right? And no doubt there's a lot of good things that come from being a community manager, interactions with the community. So what are some of the other awesome parts about being a community manager?
I mean, this is dream come true. As cliche and BS as it is, everybody's gonna say it. But it's hard to get into the gaming industry, guys. It's been a dream of my life. Like I've worked corporate, inside sales, and just freaking awful cold calling and just kind of cutting your teeth in the business that is America, like out of college, and done that for 5 years and worked up through startup and a bunch of other businesses, but like they're all tied to industries that I, will do, and they're interesting, and you try to make them interesting. But then at the end of the day, I want to go home and I want to play video games and I want to hang out with my friends and get on Discord and do all those sorts of things. And I get to literally do that as my job. I get to come in and just talk with an awesome community that we fostered in Discord and joke around and meme and be able to tease the things that I probably shouldn't be, but I get the autonomy to do so. And the airship crew themselves is just like a really nice blend of not quite startup, not quite corporate America, and a nice little balance in between where we get to I get to be myself, I get to build my own voice and kind of share something that I'm super passionate and in love with the world and help build it, which is, I mean, as a nerd, you guys know, like, what else could you really ask for? Is just having your hands on something, building something they want to do with like such a fucking phenomenally talented team. It's awesome.
Well, from where the game was at launch of early access to today, it feels like a complete different game.
It's been a lot. There's been a lot of work, a lot of man hours, and I mean, all I can do is be the cheerleader when it comes to a lot of it. Like, I can help share the feedback, but like the unsung heroes are the guys coding it all the engineers, all of the back end, the networking, the front end, the QA. It's like making game dev. It's seriously like orchestrating a symphony. There's just like so many individually talented artists that have to come together in concert and make it all work together. And people don't realize like all the pieces that have to come to place to make something work, because one piece that's wrong, one note that's being played too loud or too soft or is missing the beat, the whole thing kind of falls apart. And that's definitely true with a live service title. So getting these bug fixes, getting the server stability, getting player entitlements, and all the transactions that are going on and loading and character data migration and all that stuff. It's insane. All the things that just need to work together, and if they don't, like, the whole thing falls apart. So it's been a trial by fire, but we're finally coming at the end of it, and especially with this performance patch coming out tomorrow, we're hoping people are going to have a much smoother experience and just get to enjoy the game for the game rather than being distracted by all the other crap that unfortunately is just part of the territory.
Well, that's the nice part of having an early access game as well, is you get to see the game in real time be played, and you're fixing the bugs as you're going through.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the goal. I think, unfortunately, and just kind of the nature of the beast, it's kind of like Kickstarter in a way. It's just like, as time has gone on, when people hear early access and just like everything seems like it's early access these days, and there's just like a huge spectrum of like what is an early access game. So when we're really making this as an early access game, and we want it to be like, hey, we're going to be changing a lot of things when it comes to the balance and making sure the systems work that we want to do, and we haven't even implemented a lot of the systems that we want to be in the full part of the game. People sometimes have the expectation that like, oh, it's an early access title, but it's a full game that you just get to pay to get early access to, rather than it being like a beta or an actual working title. So it has its benefits, but it's also it can rub a lot of people the wrong way, because first impressions are really, really important, and we don't take that lightly.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that when the launch happened and everything, I can't remember how many times it was a constant message floating around about what is an early access game in the Discord. And I think I saw that definition posted, and to the point that I would go to bed and still see that definition. Just people explaining that it's not completed. So personally, as a player, being able to be a part of this game up to the point that it has, it's been a tremendous blast, and the communication from the dev team, from you guys as the community managers, it's been top notch, and I am looking forward to everything you guys have.
Okay, well, we knew it could be smoother, and we are incredibly grateful for the patience that really good fans such as yourself have had. So it would not be in the state that it is right now if it wasn't for people like you who have been helping and giving us that guiding light and showing us what we need to fix and helping us get there. So
And you
I
guys
really appreciate it.
And you guys also got a real kick in the rear partway through your early access release when the publisher decided to back out on you guys.
Yeah. It's we were talking about earlier. Is you don't always know what life's gonna throw at you, and that's a huge freaking curveball. Thankfully, our leadership team has the foresight, and we were pretty successful laying the foundation with Ruin King and Dark Side of Genesis and Battle Chasers and our previous titles. So we'd already established ourselves, so we weren't reliant on just that one source of basically revenue to keep the train alive. But we did, it did take a lot of us by surprise. Basically the same, I think we found out internally the same day, basically the public, if not the public finding out before us because of media leaks or whatnot. So it was a huge kick in the butt. And we're still navigating it. Still trying to figure out exactly how to transition everything because there was a lot of the relationship between publisher and developer. There's kind of roles and responsibilities that are divvied out between the two parties, and they're not insignificant. So learning not only to navigate development of a live service title for the first time and multiplayer and all the other things that come along with that, trying to learn how to do the publishing aspect of it as well is it's definitely a steep learning curve. So we're still learning, we're still getting through it, and I think we were able to, hopefully demonstrate some of the benefits of having it all in one house pretty soon after. I think we had some of our biggest updates immediately after that news, and that was just even in the process of when it was happening, we were just kind of taking the reins and we're like, hey, we need to get stuff out faster. So we were starting to put out some of the pretty major patches, and I think the 2.0 or the 0.2 was a huge milestone because the team was grinding to get all those changes out. And I mean, we were joking about it in the Discord about just how many Jiras and change notes we had in there, and it was 70,000 words worth of patch notes that we got out there.
Wow.
It was 2,000. I'd love somebody to look it up and see if that was a record for just a patch notes out there. But getting that stuff out there faster without having to deal with the red tape of just getting approval through all the different layers and steps. Yes, it's nice, and yes, it's good to have that kind of process and security with a publishing partner, but it does add friction. So there's definitely benefits to having it all in there at the house. But a lot of stresses that come along with it as well. So we're learning to navigate it. We're trying to get through it. We're still wrapping up some details. A lot of people thought it was just an instant one and done. In this line of work with this amount of, people and bodies behind it, it's never that simple. And it sucks because they let go of their entire publishing division. I understand that they have, they had a change in leadership and they had a change in direction, and publishing wasn't something that they wanted to pursue, but that came at the cost of a lot of good people and a lot of our plans. So it's tricky.
But just for the record, I think you guys are better off because since the publisher was gone, I don't get any clipping anymore, and it's great. The game runs so good now, and I love every minute of it. And so I say, hey, Airships steps it up for me. You know what I mean?
Cool. Well, I'm glad to see it was noticed. A lot of work, especially that 2.0 patch was insane. But when it comes to performance specifically, I'm excited. Try to capture play it tonight before that it patches. I think it's 10 CT tomorrow is when we're planning on putting it through. Try to do a mental snapshot of just how smooth it is and kind of what those performance gains are going to be for tomorrow, because it was pretty significant what we were doing, the lighting with the textures that are loading in, and then most importantly, just how character data is transmitted. It's going to make some pretty significant improvements to performance.
Awesome. Well, we like to break these question segments up with some more lighthearted questions. Atrax, did you have a question you wanted to ask? A little more Mr. Snarf here. Or excuse me, Sir Snarf.
You want me to?
Thank
You want me to?
Lord,
ask them-
I have my plot of land. I've got a 1 foot by 1
Lord.
foot square in Scotland.
Oh,
Lord Snarf. All right.
Yes.
I stand corrected, Your Highness.
Thank you.
Oh, the Lord Snarf.
Not Highness. I think I am technically. I'm a Campbell, so I am somewhere in the chain. For I think I just gotta hire somebody to bump off about 400 people ahead of me in line.
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh, Lord Snarf, we wonder, what is thine favorite game of all time?
It's an impossible question to answer.
Well, you can give a Mount Rushmore.
It can
yeah, I
be
could.
from
Oh,
the decades long ago or most recent.
I mean, I have to credit Tiberian Sun for being one of my OG like entries into gaming. Getting like a freaking before the days of wireless internet or even broadband internet, like getting a phone cable and hooking that up to doing LAN with Tiberian Sun, Command and Conquer. back in the
Oh,
day.
yep.
Like,
I was
Oh,
going to
yeah.
say,
That
I
was
had
the
to
good
do a
days.
quick Google.
But Command and
Command and
Conquer.
Conquer. Good old
Yeah.
RTS games.
Yeah, hand to nod. Oh, excellent games. So love me some RTSs. I'm still diamond in StarCraft 2 as well. So love me some Brood War. Love me some
Wow.
StarCraft. Love me some StarCraft 2. So, but RTS is a bit of a dying genre. But shout out to Frost Giant and Stormgate. I've got some high hopes for what they're able to produce for breathe some life into that genre. But I do think pretty objectively the best game of all time would have to be Elden Ring. That game is an absolute masterpiece in my mind. Just like it's on another level. I was very proud to have found as many secrets as I had. I think there was maybe like 2 items I didn't discover just like in a natural playthrough my first time through it, but I think I probably dumped like 200-300 hours like nonstop when that game came out, and it is freaking amazing. Can't wait for the Shadow of the Erd Tree, and huge fans of the Soul games as across the board. FromSoft is on another level in my opinion.
I ask myself all the time when playing the game, I am like, who thinks of this? Like, who thinks of a worm dragon in a cave that shoots fire and also has a fire tail? Like, who thinks of that?
Or like the enemies that'll like grab you, like the tentacle enemies that are on balls and swing like giant scythes at you and stuff like that.
Hey, let's not go there because I'm not there yet and it's already scaring me.
Oh, I thought you were. Oh, my bad.
No,
Sorry,
you're good.
Marcus.
No, you're good.
Once you
I
play
thought they were in
through,
Altus Plateau.
they're kind of all over the place. But the
I just got to the Altus and realized I am not ready for that area.
Is that before or after Caelid?
it's up to you. You can go. That's one of the beautiful things about it. It's kind of just one of
That's a
those
good
games.
point.
Just like you could do the whole thing at level 1 if you got the timings down. You can go anywhere at any time, and it's like freaking. There's just so many elements to that game that is just like so incredible to me. But yeah, if talking about just kind of who thinks of things and comes up with it, if you want to just having some great listening in the background, Vati Vidya is a YouTuber who goes into the like the lore deep dives of Elden Ring and all the Souls games, and he just does some phenomenal work, and he just things in connecting the dots and like subtlety, and like that's the key word, subtlety, of just like you don't realize it at surface glance when you're just focused on staying alive and doing the combat and all these things, but there's just so much depth to like every single item placement and enemy and their armor and stuff like that. Everything is there for a reason, and it's just freaking, it's art. It's amazing.
When I finish the game, it might be the best game I've ever played, but it is probably the single hardest thing I've ever done. Like, I think building a kitchen is easier than playing Elden Ring. And I'm not kidding.
I bet you're pretty proud of making that kitchen as well.
Yeah, but not like beating. Okay, so I'll give an example. I went into this area and there was 2 bosses in this dungeon, and I know it's a complete sidebar, but like I found a hidden path and there was an enemy, and he was a jerk, but like he wasn't terrible. But then I go into this room and it's called the Black Knife Assassin.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he pops up and you can't see him. So I unleashed the dogs and they're barking at it. I still died. it was like, okay, I'm not doing this right.
When you get him as a summon, that's basically easy mode, though. He's a very powerful summon companion. You can get his ashes.
How do you get his ashes?
I'm not gonna tell you. Come on, you can figure it out.
All right. Well, I beat the boss.
Spoilers.
But I don't think I got his ash.
You can. I'll say it is possible.
Oh, it's a random drop.
No, nothing is random in that game.
Oh,
Well, I guess there is, but the important things are very intentionally placed and are there for a reason. But you wouldn't think about it unless you think about it.
were you a regular Nintendo, Super Nintendo, or Sega Genesis guy?
Started on, technically Super Nintendo, and good old, side-scrolling action Mario back in the day. Tetris, freaking legend. But the first real Nintendo experience was N64. So I played the crap out of GoldenEye. If you know how to navigate through the C buttons, then you know what's up. And slappers only. So played a lot of GoldenEye. And then another game that's probably a high on the list for best ever time is freaking Super Mario 64. Like, it blows my mind how much game they could get on those tiny little cartridges. Like, that's just like on another level for me. But phenomenal, just like RPG game. I think kind of set the stage for a lot of growth in the industry. Same with like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Played all those. Star Fox 64 was fantastic. Trying to think what other huge N64 games, but N64 was a huge part of my childhood. And GameCube, played through all GameCube, played through PS. I skipped a lot of PlayStation. I played PS2, PS3 a little bit. I played like the Ratchet and Clanks. Never really got into the God of Wars. But I'd only kind of dabbled in the PlayStations. Xbox 360, played a ton of Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty 2, then kind of took a break after 360, and then kind of transitioned to building my own PCs, and mainly a Steam gamer from there. About 4,000 hours into Dota 2 and League of Legends.
Nice.
Wow.
All the other motives, unfortunately, but those are dark days.
That's not unfortunate.
What? Yeah.
Don't play Dota. Ask anybody who's put more than 2,000 hours into Dota 2. It's unfortunate.
All right. Well,
Well, yeah, I've put I think I've put like 200 hours, and I'd agree that playing it's brutal. You don't play like Marcus. You think Elden Ring is hard? Dota 2 is it's like Elden Ring on steroids.
They're hard to compare, to be honest. One is like the difficulty is like rewarding. The other one is just toxicity.
That's true too.
It's a different type of stress.
I played Dota 2 for about 28 minutes. And
That is the correct amount to play Dota 2.
Yeah,
That's fair.
and I shut it off and I
Yeah.
said, why?
Yeah.
But
getting engaged on from like 3 screens away. And
Yeah.
You just die out of nowhere.
out of nowhere.
Fun times,
Yeah.
man.
that's how I felt with League of Legends. I have a few friends that like try to get me to get into League of Legends like multiple times, and well, not multiple times. They kept harping on it. I'm like, I don't like that style of game. It's not gonna be my jam. And then the one time I went to play, they were like, "Oh, just play the tutorial." And like that was hands down the least helpful tutorial of any game I've ever played in my entire life. I think I was more confused at like midway through the tutorial than I was like before I even started. I was like, how did this make me understand the game less?
Dude,
But-
no wonder. Yeah, your friends are terrible. The tutorial's like the worst advice you could get in League.
Yeah, well, because they were like, "Oh, let's sign on at like 8:30, and we'll show you how to play." So it's 8:30. I click into into Discord, and I get the like, "Oh, we're in the middle of a game. Like, we'll be almost done." Which in League, that's like 45 minutes later. You know what I mean? And they're like, "Oh, just play the tutorial in the meantime." And I'm like, "All right, well, I've been banging my head against the wall for a half an hour here. I'm gonna go play the game. A game I actually like. Like, see you later." Like, "Oh no, wait, we're almost done." A half hour later, they were done with their game finally. And I'm like, "Yeah, but now I really don't want to play."
Yeah.
Were you ever an RTS genre multiplayer back in the day? That's like the isometric top-down, click
Not-
to hero kind of thing.
Not super. Well, I played I don't know if this might be third-person shooter, not RTS, but I played Army Men Sarge's Heroes a lot when I was like a little kid.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That's
That was
another
cool.
N64. But yeah, no, I think that's a third-person shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toy circles and whatnot.
There might have been an RTS like Army Guy style game that I played when I was in that time frame, but that was but
There's
no, not typically an
Company
RTS.
of Heroes, I think, is probably one of the bigger like RTS that time.
Maybe it was Company of Heroes. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I don't know. My gateway drug into that whole genre was like one playing the Command and Conquer RTSs, but also Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, and the Warcraft 3 mods, and like all the freaking game modes that you could do in that, whether it's Squadron TD or Legion TD, and then the Black Road like RPG, and then also like where Dota came from, like the Defense of the Ancients mod. And going through that jank, let me tell you, that is going back to that is some jankiness. But Ice Frog, he was onto something, and here we are, probably one of the highest grossing game genres that's ever been. It's great, but it's a steep learning curve if you didn't have that kind of like ramp into it through RTS and just like unit control and stuff. I think it's a very different medium. Most games these days.
I played some RTSs as well, but the ones that really stuck for me were the Dawn of War series.
Those are good.
Yeah, where it was, I would say it was more like an RTS, but it was also like a third person, like dungeon crawler as well. Like you still had the RTS elements, but it played more like, I'm going to call it like a Diablo style game, like an ARPG.
It definitely had personality. Like each of the armies, each of the factions definitely had like their own vibe. It felt I don't know, they went a little bit more the Company of Heroes directions, I think, after like the Dark Crusade. I forget exactly which 40K it was. But those first two like original RTSs there. The same with the Lord of the Rings. They had some pretty good Lord of the Rings RTSs back in the day too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first RTS ever, and one that I really think needs a remake or remaster, Star Wars Galactic Battleground Saga. Star Wars RTS on, I don't know, Windows 97. Oh,
Don't
man,
think I played that one.
That
Yeah,
was
actually-
good
I
time.
actually
It's
missed
still
one.
on Steam. You can throw it on
Of
your
course
wish
it
list.
You just got to set your computer in compatibility mode.
Yeah. run Windows 97. Good old. But
my
yeah, that
God.
was. It was. I mean, really terrible.
Oh,
I mean,
speaking of
by
Windows 97,
today's graphics.
I think the gateway drug, and I still argue this day, and I'd love to get your take on this. But hot take, the Space Cadet pinball machine, I think, was the gateway
Yes.
drug.
Oh,
for
yeah.
so
Absolutely.
many gamers out there
Yep.
without even realizing it. Talk about a great little Windows minigame.
Oh yeah.
It was,
I played a
dad-
lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
I would get in so much trouble with my dad because I'd always get on his work computer and start playing that
Fire
game.
up
And he'd come in, yeah. Well, you're playing pinball again? I said no.
but
That's funny.
Good times.
I still, when did what was Half-Life on? Was that Windows 97? No,
I think that was XP,
XP?
wasn't
I
it?
think it got to be XP. Yeah.
the original.
Half-Life 1? Yeah.
Half-Life.
Half-Life Alex is definitely on XP.
Half-Life. The
I
original
still need to play that. Oh, I want to. I bought a quest
good.
specifically for that. and I
The
still have
orig-
yet to do it.
Two or three?
Half-Life 1.
No, Quest 2 or 3. Sorry. was
Oh,
talking about
I
Snarf.
bought a 2. I bought a
okay.
2. Like it was. This was like 2 years ago. I want to say I bought it. Like I bought a laptop, and I was gonna try to. I still haven't set up. This is when I first was getting into streaming as well. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool to do
Okay.
VR.
Yeah.
Played the heck out of Beat Saber, and modded Beat Saber is fantastic. It's like modern DDR. But yeah, I've never got around to it. The remake of Resident Evil in VR was really cool, in my opinion. But yeah, anyway.
Totally agree.
You ever played?
Mark, real quick sidebar, just to circle back. Marcus, the first Half-Life came out on November 19th of 1998. So maybe it did.
Yeah, it
say
was Windows 97.
Windows 98.
Oh, Windows 98. I remember
Probably
playing that.
both.
I remember
Probably both, yeah.
we had a Gateway 2000 computer. No, it was a Packard Bell. It was a Packard Bell computer And I made my mom take me to Circuit City because I was buying Half-Life, only to find out that my computer couldn't play it.
Oh.
Tribes was that game for me back in the day. I
And-
think we were at a Fry's and it wouldn't run.
And I was like, I don't get it. So I brought it back to Circuit City, and they were like, you can't return this. You already opened it. I was like, what do you mean it doesn't work? Sorry, buddy. So I went, and then started doing some research. We went to the computer guy in Circuit City. I was like, how do I get this to run? He goes, what's in the computer? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, write down the specs. I went home, and the next day I unhooked the computer and took the computer to Circuit City. Said, I don't know what's in it. And it ended up being we only needed to spend like $50 to get it to run. It was just some like stupid thing. I don't remember to this day what it was. But as soon as we got it, I played it so much that I remember completely. I was such a shitbag. My mom had me go to bed, and her bedroom was way on the other side of the house, and I was in the basement. It was like a raised ranch. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
Yeah.
And I was in the basement, but our computer room was in the living room downstairs. I went to bed, waited for her to go to bed. I woke up and I played it until like 4 o'clock in the morning and didn't know what time it was. And then she came down and she was just standing in the doorway like this, staring at me because she was getting up to go to work. And she's like, what are you doing? I just woke up, Mom. I never got hit so hard in my life.
Worth it though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many hours were you playing? If you it was like
I don't know, dude.
11 o'clock that's a solid 5 hours.
I don't know. I
Of
went
just
to bed
straight-
and I fell asleep, and then I woke up and it was middle of the night. I don't remember now. That was so long ago, but it was 25 years ago. And I definitely went into and I played, and when she got up for work, I was still playing. Didn't even think time was gone. The game blew me away.
I know the feeling.
It's a good feeling.
So-
Definitely.
Unfortunately, more and more rare these days, I feel. But
I
like,
know.
you know you're onto something when you just get that like can't sleep without thinking about it, and you wake up thinking about it, and you're just like, when can I get back on? And like, unfortunately, just keep getting
4
life
games
gets
for me.
harder. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
4, nice.
4 games for me that have done that. But I want to ask our resident Wayfinder expert of our community, any question you want to deep dive on?
Absolutely. I think to hear from a community manager, what's your favorite moment in Wayfinder up to this point?
So technically, it's not supposed to talk about it because it's in beta. But the whole some people might recognize like the cog meme, and people just like placing the little emote, the gear emote, whatever it is. But we were doing a stress test during the first beta, and this is the first time just logging in for the first time and just seeing more than just the handful of names of internal developers and testers that you recognize, just like seeing the floodgate of the world going in there. That was just like a memory I'll take to my grave. Just so freaking cool just seeing it come to life for the first time. It's the first breath, so to speak. But we were doing a stress test, and we had a lot of people just like doing Congo lines and like emote dances and circles and stuff like by the Gloom Gate and the old Gloom Gate and stuff. And I was like, it'd be kind of cool. We're under NDA. I'll show you guys kind of a secret exploit to get outside of the map and stuff like that. So it was a pretty convoluted jump that you had to like jump and platform onto this like rotating cog, and then jump like on a chimney, and you jump out, and it was pretty tricky. It was like if you did it too early, you'd hit like a ledge and it'd reject it and shoot you out. So we spent I was kind of telling people to come over there. So we had like a group of like 18 random people who'd never seen each other again, just logging in and do the stress test, and I showed them how to get on the exploit. A few of us figured it out pretty quick, and then we'd just be sitting up on the top, just waiting for everybody else to figure out this jump. And then it's a really convoluted, like way outside the map that you can just go for. The whole city of Skylight just becomes like a little speck. I don't know why we had as much collision out there as we did, but it was awesome. So we came up with this whole journey, and it was a pilgrimage, making cog jokes because people couldn't make the cog jump. And then you go through the forest of obscurity because you have these 2D trees that you can't actually see through, and it blocks all your vision, and you're just going blind. So you got to make it through the forest of obscurity, and you make it up this mountain cliff without falling off the edge. And there's these pitfalls that you'll just fall forever if you go into them. And then there's this huge jump that you can just. This is before double dash in the air, and a lot of other movement mechanics were in the game. So you had to pixel perfect make this jump over this huge ravine between the two mountain peaks. So you had this leap of faith. So we had names for all the stages that you get there, and you'd eventually get to the peak of Cog Mountain. You had to go through the Cliffs of Insanity, another really ridiculous platforming thing where if you make the wrong move, you'll fall off into the oblivion. But eventually you make it up to the top, which was the cock of Cog Mountain. The top of Cog Mountain, and so we made a cult. All the people that were there that day, it was the cult of Incognito, and in order to figure out how to go to Cog Mountain, you had to seek out a member of Incognito. So I actually have a placard. We all made little nameplates, and my quote was a secret member of Incognito. But we just spent for the rest of that whole stress test, we had just learned how to do the bunny hop way back in the day, and we did a long jump competition from the top of that mountain, and it was just an impromptu BS thing that no one on the dev team even knew how to get out there except something I had found out a week before, and we just it's become this whole kind of thing, and now we have trinkets coming out and all sorts of stuff because of it. So it was really special and a super awesome opportunity just to be connecting with the community and just making something that using the game as a medium for making memories that never would have been planned to exist, but it was just a really kind of beautiful and special moment, and something I'll never forget. It was super cool.
Who is your favorite character in the game?
Nis.
Well, that was quick.
Wow.
No hesitation.
Wow, I didn't.
Immediate.
I was
There are
Immediate.
better characters, but okay.
Wow.
Oh, that's blasphemy.
Ding ding.
What's your username real quick? Let me pull up my fan log.
They don't need to see how many days I've lost to this game.
I'm sure they know.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm sure they know.
I'm sure. All those metrics.
Are you planning on doing daily login rewards for the game?
So that's the thing. We're trying to strike the balance between we understand the need. It's a live service game. We need people to keep logging in and putting time into the game. Otherwise, the business model doesn't make sense, and we can't pay the bills and keep developing content. So it's a balance you need to strike between being fair but also respecting the players, where we're not just there's so many games out there that no, there's just it takes it to an annoying level where it's not fun to have to log in to get the rewards and anything like that. So kind of with the job boards is our approach to doing that, where there is, it's not so much that you need to log in every day. The rewards aren't so spectacular that if you miss out on it, then you're screwed. But we do want to give an incentive for players to jump in every day, have something to do. So the job boards, it does refresh on a daily basis. You get 5 different options that you can kind of choose at your disposal and go and do something. Gives you an objective for the day. But we want it to be really quick and really easy, but also interacting with the game and not just clicking a button for the sake of clicking the button and getting your memory fragments or whatever the heck it might be. So we want people to have incentive to log in, get rewarded if they do so, but mainly just give a reason to actually play the game versus just we're going to give you a button for the sake of getting you a button to get you to log in, because it's not playing the game. That's just being part of a system. So it's a hard balance to strike, and something that we're still trying to refine. But the weekly and daily jobs is probably our closest thing that we're going to try to do with that.
My favorite part of an MMO across the board has always been raiding.
Mm-hmm.
I love raiding. I love hard mode raiding, even nightmare raiding. Well, in SWTOR it was nightmare raiding, and in WoW I think it's Mythic or something like that. I'm not sure what their hardest rating is.
Mythic Plus.
Are you planning on putting raids in Wayfinder?
Yeah. So we've the roadmap right now is the Q2. In beginning of Q2, so we're trying to be ambitious and get it out there, and that's one of the nice things about the change in the publishing schedule is like we get to prioritize what players want, and just like you said, rating is a huge component, and we want to have that social system for people to get together and bigger than the three-man dungeons that we have right now, like actually expand upon that. So the plan for the raids is going to be 6-man, and is going to be a full-on kind of raid experience that you can go in and have multiple bosses and really sick loot, and you feel rewarded and you can show off to other players that you've done it, and it's a big challenge that you can kind of get into it. So it's a big part of the late game that we're planning on rolling out, but it's still a little bit down the pipe. It's still in development, but it's going to be sooner now than it would have been prior before. But yeah, that's it's a big part of like an MMO community is like you want to have that, but we're still like, I think using the word MMO, take it with a grain of salt. Like I think it's definitely much more like a co-op experience, like instance-based shared world experience right now.
Sure.
But depending on where things go in the future, who knows what it can kind of turn into.
Would you consider doing 2 game modes for your raids, or even the story of the game where like you can click a button and have hard mode?
So what we're planning on having for more of like that super hardcore solo experience would be the mythics. So we are going to bring mythics to all of the hunts in the game. So mythic hunts are going to be like an extreme version of all the hunts that you have out there with, new rewards and mythic accessory sets that come along with it. Those you'd be able to do solo, but it's going to be really freaking challenging. So for people who have really perfected their builds and are ready to have a challenge and a super late game hustle to go with, whether you're going to do it solo or with a group. The raids themselves, like the idea that we had right now is it is a dedicated raid. Like you need to do it. There's like actual systems and mechanics to the raid dungeon itself that require cooperation and triggers and collaboration between all the party members to be able to kind of succeed with it. So the raid is going to be basically mandatory to have more than yourself, and that's going to be the dedicated six-man raid. But for mythics, like we want to be able to kind of strike that balance. It's like it's going to be better if you have a group for it, but it is technically possible to do it solo.
So, as far as like that kind of stuff, do you know that as far as the difficulty with them, is it going to be just more health, higher attack damage, or is it going to be different actual mechanics? I think of like the first as a first boss encounter for some of the beginning players and how the patterns change.
So the mythics are going to be more, it's just like super stats. Like you're just going to have to be much tighter on your attack windows, and just like you're going to have to be more defensive and a bit more tactical to how you approach it versus just face mashing and things like that. So it's really going to be much more on just like the stat boost and the being much more focused on your timings and watching the indicators and the kind of move sets that the bosses are going to be throwing out at you. We do have plans for a type of mechanic that would be more of a mechanically swap of what the experience would be. Too early to kind of talk about that right now. But yeah, so this one, the mythics are going to be much more just like the super hardcore mode. Same experience, but just cranked up to 11, and the loot cranked up along with it.
I'll stay at I'll be cranked down to like level 7.
Yeah, I'll keep it 7, 8.
Yeah,
We chilling.
Yeah, we chilling.
You guys need to play some more NIS.
Listen, okay, I'm gonna just be honest here. I've been trying for so long to get Venomous, and it's just everybody is always bringing her, and I'm just like, I want to play her.
She's fantastic.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
I've been playing from day one. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, I guess if you need heals, like I don't know.
Well, I do need heals. I'm a melee character. Yes,
I just breathe in the clouds,
Yeah, that's all I want. But no, I remember some games. WoW has done it. Guild Wars 2 has done it. SWTOR has done it, where they've done a live event where, hey, everybody meet here, and there's going to be this ridiculous something or another that spawns, and you got to work together to do it, kill it. Are you guys ever gonna make any live events like that?
Yeah, so I mean, we've already done a couple live events with, like the Gloom Dungeons that would open up in the Highlands, for instance, and those would be more of just like an event in the sense that it was like a temporary kind of change to the world, keep things fresh, and kind of incentivize people to go out and collaborate and do something a bit spontaneous together. We did add the timer to Talon of Pyre, so there is a world boss in the Highlands. Him and Night Maw is kind of more of like a mid-stage world boss that you can find out there as well. Both of those are kind of designed to have the community collaborate and get in there. One of the cool things that we've seen come out of that, like in Discord, people will just like post a screenshot of like the timer when it's down to 5 minutes, and then everybody will log in, even if it's just for that, because they only have a couple minutes, and then like meet up and just like all be hanging out right at his lair, just pounded on his door, waiting for him to spawn and give him the business. So that's been really cool. We want that to be more of like an event as well. We were talking about having like an actual broadcast in game of like, hey, he's about to spawn. Just get over to Highlands and get that going. The new zone, so basically the giant expansion, it's a huge freaking expansion. I think it's a little bit more than twice the size of what Highlands is right now. For the second zone, so Deepwood Holt exploding in the Frost March expansion. We're gonna have multiple world bosses there as well for players to be able to get into. So yeah, it's a big part. Like, we want the open worlds experiences to feel like open world and like a big, big baddie that you guys can take down and feel badass doing so together. Like, it's a big part of the social experience.
Are there plans to keep the game mostly, if not all, PvE, or will there be a PvP aspect eventually?
It's always, you never know.
Tough to
Never
say.
have a crystal ball. I will say, like, the absolute focus right now is to just make the best PvE experience that we can. We have talked about it, and we know there is definitely an audience for the PvP aspect of it. Just the thing that we don't want to have it feel like is just like we throw it in there to say that we can put it on the box, and like in Steam you can say PvP, and it's a mechanic that nobody really ever interacts with. So if we did have a PvP, we want it to feel like it was intentional and actually is balanced. And that's a very, very tricky thing of just like balancing a PvE game for PvP, unless you have very specific, balance settings in place that it just turns into a one shot or just like, damage sponges, and it just never feels quite right. So it's a really tricky thing to balance. So we'd want it to feel intentional if we did. The easiest springboard that we were talking about early on would have been like, if we want to do this, if we want to be more of like a PvEVP sort of experience, or like it's teams that are competing against each other, but the medium for competing against each other is the actual game that it's balanced for, which is the PvE content. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that, whether it's time trials or, damage runs or wave combat, or there's all sorts of different ways you can slice it.
I have one word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gambit
Game.
in Destiny.
I'm not a Destiny guy. I don't
Yes.
know. I don't
Yes.
know. Yeah.
Yes. Woohoo!
I have not played any Destiny.
Yeah. Don't.
Don't.
It's okay.
You don't need it.
No, do
Not
do it.
required.
No,
Don't bother.
do it.
Yeah, no.
Do
Please,
not start. Do
don't.
not start down that train. Just don't do it.
I need to find the time first. Unfortunately,
is-
WoW has sucked me back in now, so I have
Yeah.
no life.
Well, it's not no life. It's hard to compare. You pay $15 a month and you have 9 different versions of the game you can play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of That's definitely.
It's
WoW
pretty
is.
close. It's what, 4? No, 5.
5.
Yeah,
Wrath, Season, Hardcore, Regular Classic, and Retail.
yeah, but then you
5.
can have like the modded versions of each of them.
That's
Like I
true.
kind of want to do that. I kind of want to install the add-on to make Wrath of the Lich King, because I never played Wrath of the Lich King. Like I played beta all the way through Burning Crusade, and then I stopped Burning Crusade. But I never got to play Wrath of the Lich King, and like everybody says that's like the best expansion ever. And I really like the hardcore, so like maybe making my own hardcore version of it through add-ons.
That would
so
be fun.
that's cool. I do love the add-ons you can get in with WoW.
And just for the record, so I know, hardcore is when you die, your character's done.
Correct.
Yep.
Why would you do that? That's just
Why not?
not fair.
It's fun.
It's
That's not-
called a little get good.
Oh shit.
Did we ask this already? I want to. Speaking of little things, do you are there any plans for pets in the game, like
Yeah.
battle pets?
Yeah. Oh, well, battle pets. That's a different thing. So I mean, that would be like a whole different like Wayfinder class. It's not off the table, but it's not like in active development or anything that I can talk about right now. But we definitely have talked about the pets that you have, like I think it's a Rhyme Hunter, Rhyme Frost Hunter. I forget exactly his name. The cub that you can get in your house, along with the birds and the turtle soar and all the other little critters that you might be able to unlock and put in your house. We want to expand upon that so they can actually follow you around, maybe go you around in Skylight and stuff like that. It's less of a priority right now, but that's definitely like a nice little polish thing that we'd want to bring into the game, depending on where it goes. But yeah, for like combat pets and actually like a summoner class, so to speak, it's not out of the cards. It's just not on the docket right now.
Got it.
This is a really important question for me because it holds really near and dear to my heart. Who's your favorite Star Wars character?
Star Wars character. Who would be my favorite Star Wars character? I feel like Yoda. Yeah, it's probably Yoda, in the sense that he's just like kind of knows what's up. He's a badass, but he also just like talks and cryptic, and he kind of trolls people all the time. He kind of looks like a troll.
It's a great answer.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
I think
And
so.
the reasoning. I love
Yeah.
it. We have to ask what I consider the most important question of the show, because
Okay.
it's the only question that can actually end the show. And there are many right answers to this question, but there's only one wrong answer. And again, answer wrong, show's over. We just gone.
I was gonna save this towards the end, but Atrax is just pulling up
Well,
the
well,
stakes.
if you put it at the end, then it doesn't end the show. Like,
That's true.
Well, it does
you know,
end.
you have to have something.
All
There has to be a risk. here,
okay,
you
there's a
know?
risk.
You put it
We
at the
had
end
a
of the
lot
show,
of
there's no
hot
risk.
questions. Hopefully, we'll see how this
Hopefully.
goes.
Like I'm
Th-
nervous.
see,
He's gonna
here's
say
the
the one
point.
answer now.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I hope
All
I
right,
do.
Ready?
I kind of want to.
It's at
That sounds like
a
a challenge.
everybody. It's at
It
a
is.
underscore Atrax. You can direct your hate mail.
Atrax, you can, yep, direct it all to me.
Join the Nerds Community Discord, and you can harass him there. You'll find the link below. Sorry.
And the question is, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, favorite ice cream flavor. God.
There's a uncountable number of correct answers.
I know
Every-
there are, but you're trying
There's
to.
only one
favorites.
wrong one. Right.
Yeah.
I'd probably say like a cookie dough Butterfinger combination of some sort.
Thank God.
That sounds fantastic.
And thank God we didn't
Marcus
end the
is
show.
so relieved.
I'm so happy.
I want to guess. I feel like the
Guess.
wrong answer has to be. It's probably like a mint chocolate chip or something that's like very
Well, that's
polarizing.
my favorite. Of course, it's not.
I'm trying to think like what would be the wrong.
You have the
answer.
color correct. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It's a great
That's true.
pistachio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are the only two that I was thinking. but-
Yeah, because like I can understand if you like pistachio ice cream, but like if you choose pistachio as your number one favorite ice cream out of all the flavors that exist in the universe, there's something wrong with you, and the show is over.
Yeah, it's not even the best nut ice cream. Like
Right.
nut butter. There's so
There's
many.
plenty of like almond ones that are
Almond,
better.
yeah.
There's like a cashew.
Although there are like some gelatos and stuff I think that is like basically exclusive pistachio flavor that I've had and are just like really good.
Yeah.
But it is definitely one
Yeah.
of those that is like I think it is a good psychological evaluation test. It's like, is pistachio your favorite ice cream? Oh, really? Okay. That's
Yeah, then I'd be marking down. Don't go near him. He's probably Dexter.
right.
Hey, what do you got in your trunk? Oh, just this giant roll of plastic. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My tools.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and my little 1 pint thing of Ben and Jerry's pistachio ice cream. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It goes down with a nice
I eat it with a
shanty.
fork.
Um.
Oh, man.
Speaking
Well,
of
the show goes on then, I guess. Sorry.
yes,
Yep.
sorry,
It
You gotta
yeah.
deal with me more.
Punxsutawney Phil saw or did not. I forget which one is which. Saw his shadow, so the show goes on. Same
Yes,
deal.
there we go.
No, you did not choose pistachio, so the show goes on. Speaking of favorite things, since we talked about your favorite Star Wars character and now favorite ice cream, do you have a favorite weapon or design from Wayfinder?
Ooh, I think probably Harvest. For weapons wise, they're all of them are so freaking cool, and that's one thing that I just love about our art team is just like being able to just make cool shit and just make it real. I think there's something about just like the Harvest Moon though. It just like really resonates with me. And the fact that it is kind of just like that yin and yang. You know, you got the two moons, one's white and one's dark, and then they have, you know, a lot of synergies as far as just like the offense and the support aspects of, you know, how you can actually use it in combat. I think is just super cool. It just looked really cool. I think daggers are probably one of my favorite kind of weapon mechanics just because it does rely so heavily on the iframes and parrying and, you know, getting buff bonuses, and you can actually, if you're playing it right and you stack up your combos, you can kind of overcap the amount of damage that you're doing. So I really love just you know, dual daggers, and I think Harvest Moon. Ironically, I haven't used them basically at all on my main character, but I still think they are fantastic. I've probably used Rose and Thorns the most of any weapon. Again, another huge damage buff you get out of those. I've been really enjoying Umbros just for huge burst damage that you can do as well. I think it's getting a buff in this patch just because we had the wrong values on the stats, so I think it's getting the resilience is swapping with the damage if I remember correctly. The thing is that's one of the cool things about the game. You can just choose any weapon that you want and just play around with it, and you get, you know, with the armory system, you're going to have incentive to actually grind through it and level it up, and like all of your weapons are going to get more powerful because of it, which is going to be kind of cool system. But that's the kind of cool thing. It's just like there's not, if we're doing our job right, there shouldn't be one obvious answer for like what is the best weapon. We want them to all be, you know, amazing in their own kind of use case, and incentivize you to play around with them and collect them and want to collect them and not just think it is a throwaway sort of thing. So I think just aesthetically and just kind of cool factor, I think the Harvest Moon is pretty freaking neat.
Yeah, I know for sure. I love looking at the designs of those weapons, and you rattled off a couple of good ones. I figured as a NIST player, you were going to go towards daggers.
Yeah, as long as you're not a Tempest user, then you're okay in my book.
Oh, I'm hurt. I'm hurt after that one.
I'm hurt. I'm hurt. And so are your enemies.
But speaking of all the weapons and different things that you guys have provided for the community, it's hard to collect all of that information. So I know that with that comes wikis for a lot of different games like this. So have you checked out any of the wikis that the community has created, either to see the work they've done or the accuracy of the work they've done?
Yeah, I try to, and I mean, even like the Reddit and things like that, like we're in there, and we're monitoring and we're watching and stuff like that, but we want those all to be community driven. We think that's like a really important part of just like the culture and just like building the hype and just like sharing the data, because like we feel like, I don't know, the way I think about it is if your dad buys you a puzzle and you're super excited to try the puzzle, but if he just sits down and like does the whole thing for you, then it's just like, okay, well, it's a pretty picture now.
Yeah.
Like those are where the pieces go. Whereas if like the community like has to sit down and like actually figure out where all the pieces go and like how it all works together, like that process of building it and like figuring it all things out and like, oh, this is where that drops with, oh, you use this combination of mutators, that's how you're gonna get this thing, and like how do you get this thing to spawn, oh, you gotta kill these things in this order, and then it appears, and like that kind of viral conversation that's happening behind the scenes, like we know it happens, like we spent months making it happen, like we could tell you, like we try to help you as much as we can, like we want you to have the, you know, your material codex, and we want you to be able to kind of like see where things drop and kind of get guided so you can stay in the game, but we don't want to just be like overtly, nope, that's wrong, nope, this is right. We want it to be kind of like that natural progression of people interacting with the wikis, interacting with each other, building something out, and building that kind of community aspect of things. So there's going to be things that get data mined, and there's a lot of stuff has been data mined that's not accurate, and then it gets thrown into the wiki, and then it does cause confusion. But again, like, that's fine. It can be wrong, and people can figure it out and course correct and self manage and mitigate. So I think it's awesome. I think it takes in a tremendous amount of time to put one of those together and like make a resource that helps so many people out. Like it's super freaking cool. It's one of the things I love about the gaming communities as a whole. Like we can sow a lot of frustration and toxicity, but we can also do a lot of good to help each other out just for the sake of like wanting to do it. And there's no real incentive other than just like trying to do something cool for people. So it's awesome. Like there's a lot of really good ones out there that I highly encourage that people take advantage of, and then share the information, help each other out.
I'm a big Space Barbie kind of guy, and I love getting cosmetic armor and really pretty weapons. Or like in Destiny, you can get ornaments for your weapons where it's the same weapon, but it's like a skin that goes over it. Do you guys have plans to be able to do any of that?
I mean, you already can. Yeah, we already have one. There's like, so that's the main kind of monetization system that we have right now is going to be primarily cosmetic. So there are lots of different weapon skins that you can equip through that, but we also do want to add it through just in-game. So there's already been a few kind of weapon skins that you can get through
I haven't seen
purely in-game actions.
What about change of armor?
So the armor system right now that we have, it's purely cosmetic based, but you can kind of swap it up and mix and match it to make yourself feel unique. And one of the cool things that we just added in, I think it was the 0.2 patch, was the extra 2 slots for the dyes. So as you collect the dyes, literally every little piece of the armor is mapped to be able to customize to however you want to do it. So you can have 2 Windgraves with the exact same armor, skeleton, but with the dyes you can make them look completely different. One of the things that's frustrated the most out of some service games is when they release like these really cool looking dyes, but it's like 5 new skins, but all it is just like, ooh, here's a dark and green one, here's a same one, but it's white and gold, and here's one that's pink and purple, and it's just like the same thing, and it just feels really lazy. But each one is like $5 if you want to have them. So having the freedom is just like, we do need to get paid. We do need to have something that we can sell. We don't want it to be pay to win, so we don't want it to be gameplay focused. So we can do these really cool things and lean into our art styles, and give something for players to buy if they want to support us and can pay the bills so we can keep bumping out content. But we do want you to be able to have your expression in there, so you can be able to mix and match it however the heck you want to do it.
Maybe I didn't ask the question correctly, because what I meant is, like you were talking about Wingrave, what about a complete different armor look?
Yeah. So I think a good example right now, Nis has some really good ones for her. It's not Dragon Dancer, Astra Dancer. I think it's the name of it. But that's a Nis skin that she actually transforms her whole body into kind of almost like a dragon scales, or like take over her normal abs and things like that, and she gets like a spiky hood. And then also the is part of the Exalted pack, but you could get her Shadow Nation set, where it's really kind of like a robust, big horns and flowy chains and things like that into her outfit, but completely different from her normal, more like kind of, I don't know what the right word would be, kind of tribal flowy sash look that she usually has going on. So that changes up pretty significantly. We do have a new skin. I think we've teased off of like the samurai skin for Wingrave, and a few other ones. So yeah, we're gonna have complete
That's
item sets
awesome.
that change everything up.
That's me.
And then you can even change like individual components, so you can mix and match pieces of one set to another set. So you're incentivized to collect all of them, and there will be ones that aren't purely based off of MTX. So like if you do complete a raid or whatever might be in the future that's super hard content and you want to show it off, like if you have that one pauldron, like you could show it off to the rest of the world that like, oh yeah, he's a badass, and mix it with whatever your favorite set would be.
Now with that, with things being a part of raids or the mystics, as far as the cosmetic side of it, are some of these going to be more exclusive, like you have a certain time window, and then if that gets retired, it becomes more
things like that, it's tricky. So people don't realize how expensive. Like, it seems simple, like you're just gonna have like a cosmetic item or whatever that you're going to throw into there, but in reality, like, all things said and done, it costs tens of thousands of dollars for even like a smallest thing. So like even like trinkets and things, like they cost thousands of dollars to make in reality, and that's just the nature of the beast of get it, concepted out. You have to pay all the hours for the concept art. You have to get it 3D rendered. You have to get it, actually uploaded and coded into the game, and all the steps and things like that. It adds up fast. So if you have an asset like that, especially if it's something super badass that you just want to show off to the whole world, it's something that we don't want it to be, super time gated. But we do want it to make it feel exclusive. So it's a weird balance you have to strike between, like, okay, this is like an exclusive thing that you have to work off to be able to kind of get, and we want people to have the desire, like, it's worth getting. And that comes with a little bit of that kind of like that not FOMO, but just like, there was work involved to get it. That's what makes it badass. That's what makes you want to do it, show it off. We need to find that balance where there's multiple of those things, so there's not just like one holy grail and like you never change that slot because you got that one thing. We want it to compete. We want there to just be like a rotating selection of things. Like, oh my god, I have so many badass things to show off. Like, every day I need to kind of change it off to show the world how badass I am. So there's like a balance between, like, it can't just outshine everything else. It needs to be obtainable and like for a long period of time, so we can, the investment is worth it. It's not just like something that we spend tens of thousands of dollars to throw out to the world, and then it's only there for a week and then it's never touched again, and only just like a tiny fraction of the population ever gets to use it. That's not really a good use of money either. And being able to, but also make it like exclusive enough that it feels like a big event. So there's no clean answer. It's something that you have to evaluate with every asset that the team makes, and that's what you do behind the scenes. Is just like, we have a whole bank of what we call it, of all the different cosmetic items or rewards or whatever it might be that players could acquire in the game, and then we have to evaluate, okay, like, where do we put this? How do we use this? How do we use it to the best effect? Like, is it going to be exclusive to the shop? Is it going to be like we're going to have the big marketing push for a live event, and like that is a FOMO window, but you can then get it in the shop, or what the balance is. Like, that's one of the nice things being self-publishing. We do have the autonomy of answering those and like trying to be fair to the community and like what players are going to respond the best to. But it is a business. Like, you gotta, if you're too generous and everything's too free and there isn't it, then you can't keep the lights on, and then the whole project dies. It's like stoking a fire. It's like, you got to know when to throw in the big log and when you have to just maintain the fire as it is, and what you can get away with and what's going to burn too fast and what's not going to keep it alive for the the whole night. It's a tricky balance, but we try to do the best we can to make it fair.
Damn.
Well, as far as you mentioned the work being put into things like that, I know that there's crafting currently in the game, and I know that takes a lot of work, getting the materials and things like that to put them together to get a certain, whether that be a weapon or a Wayfinder or even just an accessory. But the one thing I've kind of noticed in my playtime is that dropped items from either certain bosses or certain expeditions are stronger, a little bit more valuable than the ones that we craft. Is that going to be something that is changed in the future, or is it always going to be the drops?
It's gonna be a blend. Like, that's one kind of pain point that I keep bringing up right now, is just like, there's a lot of really cool craftable items that are just like set at a lower level that they never really feel tangible for once you get past like that early to mid game. Like, it's a really cool set bonus, but like, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you actually equip that item, just because it's such a low item level. So it's something that we're going to continue to evaluate. We don't have like a hard answer. It's like, what's going to change with the crafting component, and like, how to get versions of the maybe earlier game craftables, but like at a mythic version of it, or whatever might happening. But crafting is a big part of the game as it stands right now. So we want players to feel rewarded when they put the work in, they've grounded it, and they've got all the different individual components, and they want to make a really cool thing. We want them to feel rewarded and like have a reason for that, but we also want there to be a really big reward for getting that RNG chance drop from a world boss or a raid boss or whatever it might be. Like you finally get that roll that you're looking for with the 2 sword slots or whatever slots work with your echoes, and it just feels like you can show that off, and that's another cool thing that we see in Discord. It's just like people just taking a screenshot of just that little toast in the left of just like, I got that purple, finally dropped, I finally got it, and just like that's a cool moment as well. So again, we want it to feel a good balance between, it's not just like you have to grind this for infinitum amount of time to be able to get it, and when it finally happens, it's just like if you can check that box off, but you want it to feel rewarding. But we also want players to have a means, like crafting feels like it's continual progression. So you can get like the small little increments, and then eventually you get the payout. Whereas like if you're purely relying on drops, it's just like rolling the dice every single time, and you're praying for it to finally hit. So there's a world where it's a combination of the two, depending on what you're trying to do. And if we're doing our job right, like there's enough different ways to kind of tackle the challenges in the game that like there's a reason to do both, depending on the challenge.
Nice.
All right. I heated my triggered question of the night. Why does the game feel catered to range style versus melee?
God, balancing a range, like it's one of, like I think we shot ourselves in the foot a little bit with it being such a kind of unique world of being kind of like almost like that fantasy punk, steampunk vibe, long like neon punk. I don't know what you call it, but there's guns, there's like magic, there's melee, and there's big two-handers and shields and stuff like that. And it's there's a reason not every game does it because it makes balancing tricky. But we want to find the balance, and we're not there yet, and we never will be there. I think it's always going to shift and adjust, like as we keep releasing weapons. But we want, like we recently with the 2.0, like we've tried to bring ranged people closer into the fight, like into the fray. And there's a cost benefit. Like if you want to deal the most damage possible and like be the most badass, that comes at the risk of having to be up close and personal and a higher chance of getting engaged. But we also want to kind of bring that threat out to the ranged people. So if you're doing a ton of damage from range, we need to introduce some more mechanics from the bosses that actually like specifically goes after those ranged people, and like puts a little bit of heat on them if they're just pot shotting in the back too much. So that's like one of the ways that we want to tackle it, is not just do nerfs all the time and just like make it useless to do range, because that's not fun. Like people put a lot of work into getting those weapons, and we want there to be a reason for whatever weapon that you have equipped. Like sometimes it's better to be ranged, sometimes it's better to be up close, sometimes it's good to have break power, sometimes it's better to be sword and shield, whatever it might be. We want there to be intentional choices with each weapon and when you're using them. And then also just like you get engaged differently depending on what you have with. So like I know we're definitely keeping that in mind with like future boss fights and things that we have going on, and enemy AI like targeting prioritization based off of like what weapons are using and stuff like that. So even if you are playing ranged, like you're still getting engaged, but it's just a different way than you would be getting engaged if you were melee. But it's a work in progress. It's always going to be.
Marcus, I think that's just saying you need to get better.
That's what I heard.
I honestly think daggers are the most OP. It takes time. You got to learn the movesets, but those are iframes that deal damage back. Like I don't know what else you want. You got dodges. You got, if you're playing this, you have like another like 6 iframes. Like if I'm your moveset and you're doing like insane amounts of damage, like what else could you ask for? You don't need healing if you don't get hurt. Like and everything's dead before you get hurt. Like, it's a strong argument.
My dodging is
hearing this from Elden Ring.
Yeah, like my dodging is not that good. I have not learned the timing of getting smashed by something.
It is an important skill set. It bleeds over to real life too. You see a truck coming, like you know where their dodge button is. You can get out of the way. It might save your life.
Yeah, don't bother parrying. Just
yeah,
dodge.
see, exactly.
I don't even know how to parry. Like I don't even that part I don't even understand yet. Okay, I'm still
Okay.
working on learning how to dodge, and I'm 40 hours into the game, and I've beaten some bosses. It's just, yeah, I feel like I'm
It will
about.
open up a whole new world to you. So I'm looking forward to. And like it's different. Like it's a different type of dodge or parry or repost, depending if you're two-handed or sword and shields or daggers or whatever it might be. So like that's one thing I think why I think ranged is the easiest. It's pretty obvious that you get away and you aim down sights and you press the button, and then maybe you get fancy and you do the active reload in the right window for some extra bonus. But if you want to, if you're melee and you're not using those tools like dodge and you're not using the parry and the block and stuff like that, it's gonna feel really punishing. But if you get it right, it feels really rewarding. So that might be a more simple answer to your original question. Learn to use the systems.
Working on it. Noted. So the moral of this story today is get good.
Yeah, I think that's the moral of life, right?
Yeah. It's a good way to live.
Yeah.
No
Absolutely.
no pun intended. We also wanted to ask, what are your personal goals for Wayfinder?
I mean, just kind of see where it takes us. I mean, I think it'd be folly to say that we have a plan. Like, we do. We always have a plan, but like it's like we've seen in these short few months of early access, just like things that you think are going to happen and you just have zero way of knowing what the future is going to be. So our guiding principle is always just going to be do what's right for the game, do what's right for players, and do what's right for like us as a dev studio, so we can kind of stay together, keep building, the games that we want to make, and just do what we want to do, which is just make phenomenal experience. Like we manufacture adventure, and that's what we want to keep doing. So that's the beautiful part of my job is I just get to keep listening. I can keep kind of help steer the course of like where the game's going to go based off of what all of y'all want and like what we need, and like whether that's raids or whether that's whatever we wanted to see and what we want more of, whether it's PvP, whether it's more PvE, like open worlds, zones, like smaller paced and dungeons and enrichments of like the lost zones that are out there. Like that really does depend on like what we hear back from you guys of what's most important to each of you. So we're going to keep following that, and then kind of just keep an open mind of just like being able to build. We're building a new frontier, guys. Like this is a whole world that does not exist without the brains that we're putting behind it, and want to see what happens. So it could be a completely different game in a year's time, and when it's actual launch, like who knows? But we want to instill trust from you guys and like earn that trust that we're always going to do what's the best for the community and fair, and make people have fun. Just give them escape. Life's stressful enough.
Well, you definitely have done it. The community team is, you guys communicate with everybody. I always say no Discord message is left unread. It may take some time to
always
get a
lurking in
response, but that's understandable when you have thousands of people that are probably DMing a day.
I'm doing bad. I have 6 right now in my inbox, but at launch, let me tell you, I think I had to sleep like we had like the animation studio judo mats that we do like actual recording for kind of like body mapping and things like that. So I stole one of those in our old office, and I was just like, I was answering nonstop. I think 1,000, it was at least 1,000 a day, maybe getting close to like 2,000 messages I was getting every day, just trying to keep up with the flood that was coming in. Thank God that has slowed down a little bit. But yeah, I try to. And again, it's a double-edged sword. Like sometimes people aren't going to like the answers that I have, so they get pissed off and leave a bad Steam review or whatever it might be. But it's like, I'm always going to be honest. I'm always going to, if you treat me with respect, I'm going to treat respect right back at you. And it takes work, but I think it's worth it. I think like so many studios and gaming industry, it's like, as a gamer myself, it's like, it's a black box. Like you hope, and sometimes you believe in the studio, sometimes you don't. But if you have no line of communication, then people will assume the worst. Like people will mostly try to assume the worst, but if you don't answer, then they really will assume the worst. So my goal is just try to be as honest as I can, and get that at least some information out there as best I can.
Awesome.
Well, let everybody know where people can find you one more time.
And Discord. Yeah. So if you're not in the Wayfinder Discord, give us a search and come say hi. Never be a stranger. If I get pinged, I'll respond. And if you're setting yourself up to be made fun of, then you might get made fun of. But I promise I mean the best from it. I love you.
I get made fun of every day by everybody. It's fine. It means they love you. It's fine.
Exactly.
It's all love. All just, it's a game. We're making games. We're having escapes. We're all just trying to be in here to make the best of our life. And there's enough going on in all of our lives and all of our worlds that's like, that is work. And that's not meant to be, Wayfinder. It's not meant to be any of this. It's meant to be something to escape, something to give you a reason to do all the other BS. Like, we give you a reason to live, and we're gonna keep working on that.
If you're watching here, I play Wayfinder Monday nights with Rayu. It'll become a normal stream night, so please come say hi to me as I fail, and you guys can tell me get good, because I need that. Lots of get goods all the time. So thanks, Snarf.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm honored to be here, and thanks for listening to me ramble. But I'm always around if you guys want to hit up, and the new stuff that's going to be coming out. I'm super excited to be saying that, but stay tuned. And we're also on Twitch as well, so the Play Wayfinder channel on Twitch. So if you have something new and exciting to show off, you can catch me live there as well.
Everybody,
thanks, guys.
you guys chill out for 1 second. Bye, stream.